Hello, and welcome to Ask Dalya Live with me, Dalya Massachi. In each episode of Ask Dalya Live, I answer questions that people just like you have asked me. Those questions are related to grant writing and management. If you would like to ask a question today, please enter it in the comment box, and I'll answer it in a future episode. Of course, if you miss any sessions of Ask Dalya Live, or you just want to watch again, look for the recordings on the Writing for Community Success page on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, or Instagram, all linked below. Now, you may already know that I've been a nonprofit grant writer for almost 25 years. I'm also pleased to work with new and emerging grant writers in many different organizations as their grant writing coach. If you are interested in working with a coach to improve your grant writing and management, check out the link below to learn more. And don't forget about my popular on-demand 5-course track, which I co-created with TechSoup. It includes all the guidance and tools you'll need to get started on your way to grant success. You can watch a free introductory webinar at the link below. Over the years, I've learned my share of lessons in the grant world, and now I want to share that knowledge with you. So let's look at the questions that came in. Question number 1. How can a nonprofit executive director or board member help facilitate successful grant seeking? Well, I would encourage you first to think of grant seeking as a team sport. A nonprofit executive director or board member can help guide the grant team to victory, but not from hanging back on the sidelines. Your organization's leaders should marshal the right strategy and resources so your grant-seeking team can succeed. It's actually an important part of the job. Without that hands-on leadership and vision, the grant team will lack direction, priorities, and motivation. I've spoken with leaders of many new and not so new organizations who actually have not properly prepared for grant seeking. They simply want to see money come right through the door, right? And they want to see it right away. But unfortunately, it doesn't quite work that way. And they often have been disappointed. So, is grant seeking high on the agenda of your executive director and board? It should be. Without the support of nonprofit executives, even the strongest grant teams often have to just watch good opportunities pass them by. That support can come in the form of timely strategic information, adequate human resources, and appropriate planning. Your executive director and board members also should be developing ongoing relationships with current and potential funders and community collaborators, and feed that information back to the grant team. Also, the organization leaders who meet regularly with the grant team can model a sense of openness and curiosity about what makes the most sense in the current funding climate. Okay, question number 2. To what extent should a grant writer be responsible for evaluations and client feedback versus others on the grant team? While the grant writer should not be designing the programs, they are serving as the eyes and ears of funders. And as a grant writer, we know, right, that evaluation is always going to be important to funders. That means that whoever is designing the program needs to find a way to measure results in the short term and the long term. A grant writer can offer suggestions about evaluation and ask how that evaluation will improve the program over time, but they are not in a position to actually plan or implement the evaluation component. The exception would be if the grant writer is also the program manager or director. In that case, when you put your grant writer hat on, you're not responsible for the evaluation portion of the work. Client feedback and stories are also important to funders. They will want to know exactly how people have benefited from the program and what difference that made in their lives. Those stories should then make their way back to the grant writer, because grant proposals and reports will likely need to include some of that information. Okay, question number 3. What do you recommend for handling staff who don't want to participate in grant seeking? This is a tough one. Everyone in the nonprofit sector should know that at some point they are very likely to be part of fundraising. It's just the nature of the beast. Even if someone hates the idea, you can try to make it more pleasant for them. See if you can demonstrate how much stronger your grant proposal will be with their input. After all, no one else has their expertise, and everyone likes to be considered an expert. Then try to make it easy for them to help you out and help out the grant writing process. For example, consider drafting your proposal with blank spaces for them to fill in with the information that only they know. It's much simpler to fill in the blanks than to start from scratch. Some people would prefer that you interview them for a few minutes and then have you fit their words into a format that the funder is looking for. This is a good option to offer them, and I've seen both of those methods work. Just remember to give them time to schedule their work on their calendar. That means you have to plan ahead. Well in advance of the proposal deadline is when you want to do that work with the program folks. Okay, question number 4. Should I send in photos or videos along with my grant proposal? I think it's going to depend on specific funders and their processes. If they accept online proposals and they have a form on the grant proposal submission form, on that form, if they have a place to attach photos or link to a video, definitely try to include 1 or 2. But if the funder is old school and they require a snail mail application, ask first about sending extra materials. They usually don't want to see anything more because it's more bulky. The question then becomes, what kind of photos or videos should you send? Well, the old saying goes that a picture is worth 1,000 words, but I actually would qualify that, and I would say a good picture used well is worth 1,000 words. So images can add credibility to your text, and they could help explain a concept or tell your story in a way that just words can't. But make sure you choose action shots that show people actually advancing your mission or benefiting from your work. Just don't rely on the same few people to always act as the symbolic faces for your organization. That's not a good idea. Speaking of faces, in some instances, you may not want to reveal people's identities, right? For example, they may be children or they may be domestic violence survivors. In that case, you could show people from afar, or you could show something about them, such as their hands or footprints. Pay attention also to the lighting, the focus, and the framing of the shots that you're going to use. And remember to identify your photos so the funder knows what they're looking at. Well, that wraps up today's session of Ask Dalya Live. Thanks for joining me, and please be sure to stop by again and tell your friends and colleagues. Recordings are available on the Writing for Community Success Facebook page. Just scroll to the videos section. You can also find them on my YouTube channel, along with many other grant-related videos that I've made. If you have a question for a future episode of Ask Dalya Live, just fill out the form in the link below. Please follow me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, or Google Business. The links all appear in the description below. You can also sign up for my free newsletter for more tips. Just go to my website, www.writingtomakeadifference.com. I look forward to hearing about your grant successes and answering more of your questions during the next session of Ask Dalya Live. See you then!